he wants to remove the order date. I will have a look what he's doing. He's asking me to allow him things, so I will allow him this session. The problem at the moment is that we did not build any visuals and we only write meshes. I think it can be really possible that he's kicking out a lot of columns now, but we will see what he's doing. And he's already updating the calendar and he's telling me now what columns he removed. So in the dim employees, he removed the last name short and the dim calendar. He removed monthly, year month, and he also updated the calendar. So I think it was not so bad, but maybe you want to do that when you have also created your visuals. Today we will dig into the Power BI MCP server. The MCP server is a model context protocol server for Power BI. We all know LLMs up to now, so ChatGPT, Copilot, Midjourney, these are all LLMs and they can generate things for you. This is AI. On the other side, there is Power BI, so BI, where your semantic model is stored, where your meshes are, your data tables, and everything else. The LLM is not very good in talking to Power BI, like in reality, I guess. So we need something that can fix that. And this is the MCP server for Power BI. The MCP server for Power BI likes to talk to both. So he can talk to the LLM and he can talk also to Power BI, to your semantic model. So by installing an MCP server, you're able to use natural language to ask questions and take actions in your Power BI file. And today I will show you how to set up that MCP server. And I will also show you a workflow that makes your visualization ready. The files you need for that you can find in my GitHub. The link for the GitHub files is in the video description as always. And so we get started. Before we can start using MCP, you need to install some things. So you need to install Visual Studio Code first, and you can find Visual Studio Code here. You just can Google for it, and then you can download for Windows and install it. After installing it, you can open it, and now you have to install extensions because you need an LLM and you need the MCP. So in Visual Studio Code, you can click on extensions and then you can search for GitHub. And then you will see the Copilot chat and the GitHub Copilot. In videos from other creators, you will still see that you need to install 3 extensions, but this has changed as GitHub Copilot is depreciated. So you only need GitHub Copilot chat and you need the Power BI MCP server, this one. So you click on install and then they will be installed. What you also need for that is a GitHub account. If you go to the chat now by opening a chat in a new window, you will see here that you can choose between agent mode, ask, edit, and plan. We will go into the agent mode because we want the agent to take actions in our file data. And then you can choose here the models. If you do not see the models here, you have to sign in first in your GitHub account. You do not need a paid account, so a free account is completely fine to follow along. After setting your account up, after installing all the extensions, we can now get started. As we open the chat in an extra window, so click here on the arrow and new chat window. So here you can see now the chat window we have opened, and you can see the starter Power BI file I had put also in the GitHub. And you can see in this file a data model which is not complete, and you can also see that there are missing some relationships and that there is no calendar table. And the first thing we have to do now to work with this model is we have to bring the MCP to connect to the desktop file. So the first thing we will say is connect to Power BI desktop. And then you can see him working, thinking, Then you need to allow some things. I will go to allow in the session because he needs to work on your file. So you need to give him permission to do so. And then it's telling me found a running Power BI desktop instance with the Northern Traders MCP dataset. Let me connect to it now. So now the MCP has connected to the Power BI file and we can take some actions on the Power BI file. The first thing we will do is we want to find out what this file is all about. And for that, we will use the first prompt from the text file I have prepared. So this one, which is, can you describe me what the data model is all about? You can copy it out and copy it into the chat box and click on Run. And then we need to allow some things. So we will allow in this session, but you have to read first what he's doing. But most often he is asking for information about lists, about tables, and about get at the moment because he's just reading out information. And now he tells me this is a retail distribution business and analytics model. There is the order state, the fact table, the order details, and there are also some dimensions. You see, he can read the semantic model and he can also provide information about this model and you can get a first overview what this model is all about. The second thing we want him to do is to create a calendar table because we knew that the calendar is missing. And so we will use MCP to create one. So this is the second prompt. You can copy it out and can copy it into the text box for the chat and click on Run. And then you can watch what he's doing here. Because you can see all the changes he's making now also in your data model. So there should pop up an additional table. You need to respond in this case and to tell him, yes, he can do some operations in your model. And then you can already see here the calendar table popping up. It still has a mistake, so he's still working on that. And you'll see it needs some time to set that up. And he's also getting errors, so he's very human-like. And then after these errors, he's trying again. But you can see now that he set up the calendar table for us. And we will also have a look at it. And you can see that there is the 1st of July. This is the minimum date. And that he has also created all these rows. So MCP can definitely create tables in your model. The next prompt we will try now, we have a calendar table now, but we need to connect it to the fact tables. And we will also check if he can do that. So we will take prompt number 3, which tells him to connect the calendar table to the fact table in the model. And we will also add use or the date column because we know that there are more date columns. And then we will click on Run and see what's happening. And you can see him working and thinking. You may also need to click on Refresh in Power BI during these operations. But now you can see that there is a relationship now. And he's telling you from order data to many to the calendar date is 1. The status is active. The filter direction is one way. And the name of this connection is order date, calendar date. And we will check that in the properties. And you can see it also here. So the cross filter direction is a single. And these are the columns. So this is also working pretty much good. The next thing we will do is we will try if we can find out or if we can see that there are some relationships missing. So we will ask him to connect to all the dimension tables in the model to the fact table by using a star schema because I want to do him really best practices where possible. And we also say do not create any relationships between dimensions unless you can detect a hierarchy and you need a snowflake schema. Also avoid many-to-many relationships because we really do not like that and they are not correct in most cases. Please also add the key column to the tables in the table properties. And we will test if he will be able to do that. So Ctrl+C, put it into the chat box and click on Run. And then you can watch again what's going on in the data model, because you can see here is a relationship missing. So you can see you have to refresh. And here he has created our relationship. We remove the calendar over here and he's still thinking. And what we also asked him, we asked him to provide the key column in the table. So we will also check that when he's finished. And what's pretty good when you start working with MCP on a file, please make a backup file, because there can go so much wrong and you will be pretty happy if you took care of this issue earlier. Then you can see that the star schema configuration is complete. The order data is the central fact table, and the star schema connection was implemented. So order status to customer lookup, customer ID, order data employees lookup, employee ID. So he's giving you here the columns he was using for the connection. And he also tells you there is one snowflake hierarchy for the product dimensions. And he can also configure the key columns, what we will check now, because we are never sure. And what you can see here is that there is no key column. So I don't know what he was setting up with the key columns, but they would be here if he would really have set up the key columns. Where he was not successful, we can ask him. In the properties, I do not see the key columns for the tables, and I will see what he will respond. I always find it very charming when he's saying the user is saying, or the user is complaining. So he's working. And now he's saying me he has configured this key columns. We will have a look. But you can see that it is still not implemented. So I think you need to do that by hand at the moment. We are not successful doing that. The next thing we will try is if you can set default summarizations, because we do not want to summarize key columns. So we will copy that in and we will see what he's doing. We will zoom there in a little bit, because here you can see such a case is the order ID, for example. We have to allow some actions again, so allow in this session, and we will see what he's doing with the order ID here, because the order ID is a key column which should not be summarized. So in the properties, in the advanced properties, you can see that it is not summarized. So he is really successful in doing that. And this will help you a lot when building out your model later, because you will not get implicit measures. Then the next thing we will try is if we can hide foreign keys, but unfortunately they are all already hidden. So we will unhide first here the order ID and here the category ID, and then we will try the prompt. So just copy out the hide foreign keys, save the file again before, because otherwise he will not know the changes, and then copy that into the chat window and see if you will be able to do that. In this session, I really want to make you understand what MCP can do, for what you can use it. And now we are setting up our model for visualization by following all the best practices. And so he is telling me at the moment that he has hidden the foreign keys, and we will check that. And you can see the order ID is hidden again. And also here the product ID is hidden on the many side. So he really is able to do that. The next thing we want to check him is if the out-of-date time is off in the file. So if you open the MCP server and ask him first how many tables there are in, and you will get back more tables than you expect, then you can be pretty sure the out-of-date time is on, and that these are the tables he's referring to. So we'll copy in prompt number 7, click on run, and see what we will get back. And he's telling me that the time intelligence is currently enabled in the model. This annotation controls the out-of-date time feature. Since you now have a dedicated calendar table, the proper data, it's recommended to turn off the automatic time intelligence to avoid conflicts and confusion. So we will have a look. We will go to File and we will go to Options and Settings. We will go to the current file, data load, and we will see that out-of-date time here is on. So we will turn that off. You should do that always because this data hierarchies cost you a lot of storage and they are really not useful to have because you should work with a dedicated calendar table. Then you can click on OK and we can save the file again. So we will go on with the next prompt. And the next prompt is check my data model for inconsistencies and especially for relationships with filter direction both. If you find both, please correct it to single while ensuring the filter direction is from dimension to fact table. Please also make sure that the columns that are used in one relationship have the same date, the time. So we will run that prompt and see what we get back. And it's telling me good news, all relationships already have one direction. Now let me check the data types of columns used in each relationship. And then I get the analysis. And then he is telling me issue found, visibility order date is incorrectly hidden. It's not a foreign key. It's used in the calendar relationship and should be visible. Let me fix this. So this is really strange because it should be hidden. So here he is not right. And then he is checking here some things. The filtered direction, all 10 relationships are used. One direction, fact dimension, all relationship columns have matching data types. And the order date visibility is fixed, but it should not be visible. So you see, you really have to check what he's doing and proposing because he may not always be right. The next thing is we want to know if all our keys are unique before we start going further, because if we do not have unique keys, we will also get a problem later. But I think we will also add to check for blanks. So we'll copy that in, please, and also check if there are any blanks in the keys. I think there shouldn't be any. And I hope he's coming back with the same result because I know that this data set was working. But you see, you can really do this quick checks by using MCP and you can get really your model ready for visualization by following along these steps in a pretty easy way. Because MCP really can read all that information out. So he's telling me now how the key columns are behaving. So there are no blanks, the status is valid. And he's also checking for unique values. And so you can also use in the data have checks. The next thing we want him to do is make sure that all table names are short, clearly reflect the business entity. They represent use singular nouns and follow a consistent naming convention across the model because we do not want to have table names later nobody can understand. So this is the next prompt we will try and we will see what we get back here and what's happening when we ran this prompt. In my opinion, there should be some inconsistencies in the naming because you can see that he's working already on that. So he is renaming the order table to order. He also fixed the order detail spelling. The employees table is now named employees. So he also removed the lookup. Looks like he does not like that. And he's also giving me a naming convention that he applied. And maybe we can now also tell him that he should add a prefix to the tables for fact and dimensions. Please add a prefix to the tables to make clear which tables contain facts and which tables contain dimensions. And now you should add this prefix, I guess, because I always think for the user it is easier to have the prefixes to understand what the table is doing. And you can see now you get a clear table naming for all your tables, which is pretty awesome because this is also the first step or another step towards a healthier data model, a consistent naming of your tables. And then he is also telling me again what he did, so he can also help you on that. The next thing we will try is the table descriptions, because I really do not like models where they are missing, and the best practice is you should have them. So I will ask him to add descriptions with 2 to 3 sentences to all the tables by using business terms and natural language, because we really want also business user be able to understand what's going on in these tables, and I will see what is coming back with. I know that people are really annoyed to add all these things manually, but you really need to do that now, because we are getting ready to use more AI in these reports, and for AI, all those description fields are instructions that help AI better understand what to do with this data, and also your reports will be very much better prepared for maintenance if you do so. So now it's also showing you the descriptions for the tables, and he also is telling you the benefits like I did. It's business friendly, informative, and discoverable, but we will check if you really did that. So we will go back to the properties, go to the fact orders, and you can see here now the description for the table. We can also for the shipper and logistic partners and shippers. So I think this is really great, because now we also know what's in these tables. So we will go on with the next prompt. Now we are moving to the columns. So now we took care of the table and the names to get consistent naming, and now we will move on to the columns. So make sure that all column names are clear, consistent, business-friendly, and descriptive enough to understand the field's meaning without needing additional explanation. So we will copy also that in and run the prompt. So he's telling me that he will review all columns across all tables and rename them to be clearer and more business-friendly. You can again watch what's happening here. And you can also see that he's working on the calendar, because he does not like the names I suggested him before. And he's running batch operations then. And he was renaming 57 columns by standardizing them. And you can also see he was working here. And now you can see that they name more consistent. So the employee ID, the order ID, the order date. So it's pretty awesome what MCP can do here and how easy you can achieve these things now. So we will run the next prompt. Add a description to each column that explains the business meaning of the column by using natural language. So this is also a step towards better maintenance and documentation, and we will see what he's giving us back on this one. You can also see that he needs some time, but I guess if you would do that manually, you would need much more time. So it's pretty fine when you also have to wait for him to take actions. And he's also telling you how many columns are in these tables. And we can then again check in the properties what he did. So if you click on one table and you click on the order ID, for example, you see here now the description for the order ID. So this is really great. And for me, it's so good that data health can be achieved so easy, because people always want to avoid those things because it's so much work. But with MCP, we're getting so much closer to data health, and this really makes my heart jump. So we will go to the next prompt. And the next is suggest me measures that I could create to analyze the data. So now we are preparing towards our analysis, and we want to know what he can do. So we copy the prompt over and we will run the prompt and see what's going to happen. And now I get a lot of measures from him and also some time intelligence measure. And he is asking me which reports I want to make. Then I think we will tell him to create all the measures, but before we do that, we will try if he's able to make calculation groups, because calculation groups will make it so much easier for us later to create standardized time intelligence calculations for the measures we need comparisons through all periods. So the next thing is we will ask him add calculation group for time intelligence, and we will see if he can do that. So click on run, and the calculation group you will find also in the model view in the model, because there should show up something on the calculation group if he's successful. You again need to allow something in the session and refresh the model. And you can see that we here get a calculation group with time intelligence, and that there are 7 items in, so the current, the prior year, the year-over-year, the year-over-year percentage, the year-to-date, the quarter-to-date, and the month-to-date, which is pretty good. And in the next step now, I will bring him to write measures, but I also want to use the calculation group, so I had to refine the prompt a little bit, because he could write all the measures, but he would not use the calculation groups as he did not know how. So we will copy that prompt and create them, but also using the time intelligence calculation groups to make sure that they can make comparisons across all the periods. Please put all the measures in a table named measures, because we also want to have a measure table, and we will put that in and we will replace them by all the measures, and we will run that and see what we get back. And you should also see him working now, because there should pop up a table named measures, and he's also asking again which base measures should I create, and I will go for option A. Option A, click on run, and then we will see what we will get back. So we will click on submit. Then he's analyzing my answer, and then I hope he will create our measures. I did a test run before and he was not asking so many questions. So you can see that you will not get every time the same answers. And now you can see that he's working, and he's also having to rework things because there are some issues, and he's preparing a JSON as he's communicating with the JSON file. And again, you have to allow some things. I will allow in this session. And now you can see that he gave me a lot of measures, and I will check if he was using a calculation group, and you can see he was using the calculation groups, which is really great. And we will now go to the model view, and in the model view we will have a look at the properties, and you can see that are no format strings to the measures. So the next thing we will do is we will ask for format strings, add format strings to all measures. So we will run that again and see what's happening. And he's asking me again some things I have to submit. I will go with default at the moment, and we will see what we will get back. So the default was I can use USD currency for money, percent for rates, and whole number for counts days. So I think this will be a good first guess. Apply format strings to all 72 measures using your default scheme. So we will have a look what he really did. And you can see now the format is a whole number, and the total discount is custom, and he added currencies, so he can do also. And the next thing we will do is add a data category to measures and columns when necessary. For example, country, city, web URL, image URL, latitude and longitude. So we will copy that over and run, and then we will see what we are getting back. So he's always doing batch operations in these cases. And he is telling me that the customer, the city, and the country he changed, and also in the same employee, the city and the country he did change it. So for the city in the same employee, we will check that. You can click on city. Then you can see here in the properties, the data category is also a city. So you can see continent, country, and you can also see that this was also applied, which is pretty awesome. What I still do not like is that I do not have any display folders. So the next prompt we will put in are the display folders, because it is so much easier to find something when you have them. So we will just move them to display folders by categorizing them by analytics areas but we will change this, move the measures to display folder by categorizing with analytics areas, and then we will see what we will get back. You can also watch him doing that here. So there is a default grouping. He's proposing me sales discount orders. I will get along with that. And then he's also asking me if I want the total sales and the time intelligence in the same folder, or if I want to have a time intelligence folder, I want the same. So I click to submit and I let him work now. And now you can also see here that he has created some folders. If I do not like the folders, I can also tell him now to change these folders and to adapt them a little bit. You can see it better here. So you have discounts, you have orders, order count, total quantity, you have sales, the average order value, total sales, and you have shipping, the average days to ship. So you get 4 display folders now without really doing nothing. So the next thing is add measure descriptions using business terms and natural language to the measures, making sure that the business logic is explained as well as any filters, assumptions, or context. So now we will again move towards maintenance, documentation, and data health. You can copy that in and click on Run and see what's happening. The descriptions can also be found again in the Properties tab, and you can see him thinking and working. And he's again doing some batch operations, means he's really doing a lot. And then you can see that you get descriptions for the measures and also synonyms, which is pretty awesome and which was very fast. I really like that. And again, there is no more excuse to care not about data health and maintenance. So the next thing we will try is remove columns that are not needed for analysis, because now we know what we will analyze, and then we can clean up everything a little bit. So we will put that in and see what we get back. And he's also asking again some things before cleanup. Remove technical columns like row numbers only. Aggressive cleanup, remove row number and helper fields. Customers, you provide exact columns to remove. I think we will go with, let's test an aggressive cleanup and click on submit. I really hope he's not destroying my file now. He wants to remove the order date. I will have a look what he's doing. He's asking me to allow him things, so I will allow him this session. The problem at the moment is that we did not build any visuals and we only write measures. I think it can be really possible that he's kicking out a lot of columns now, but we will see what he's doing. And he's already updating the calendar and he's telling me now what columns he removed. So in the demo employees, he removed the last name short and the dim calendar. He removed month, year, month, and he also updated the calendar. So I think it was not so bad, but maybe you want to do that when you have also created your visuals. Then last but not least, I am asking him for a create a tabular measure catalog with all the measures. The catalog should contain the measure name, the text expression, the format string, and the description. So this is also for my documentation. I will run that and see if I can also get that back, because then I really know a lot about my model. And you can see he's trying to build me a text measure catalog table, which was not really what I wanted him to do, because I know that I also could have done that with the info view functions for the measures. I'm curious if he will come up with that, because he could know that, or if he's really writing a table. At the moment, we do not know what he's doing and heading for. He was writing a measure catalog, and you can see he was writing all the descriptions, and which I'm not so happy with. So this is not the best thing you can do and use him for, but you can do that very fast with the info view functions. for the measures. So I hope I could show you how easy it can be to use MCP to get your Power BI ready for visualization. And one point I really want to address here is now security. I know that people hate security as well as they do not like data governance so much, but we really have to talk about that. From a security point of view, you are sending data to an LLM, so to the GitHub Copilot chat in this case. And to find out how your data is handled, if it is used for training or if it is kept some years, you have to read the terms on the GitHub page for GitHub Copilot chat. What I would suggest you is do not send sensitive company data to MCPs. There are other ways to set MCPs also up in a company context by using Azure or by running own LLMs. But today I really wanted to show you what's possible if you use MCP. I hope you had as much fun as I had and hope to see you for the next video.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and catch up on the next video.